So we're moving on to our next section, which is actually the current state of Dreamcast. So even though Sega discontinued, actually I had the date, it's January the 31st, 2001. That's when the Dreamcast was officially announced as being discontinued. Even though Sega announced that and, official games slowly started to wind down, it wasn't until, I think it's actually 2007 that Sega Japan, it wasn't Sega Japan, but the last official Dreamcast release was actually released in Japan. Right. But since the Dreamcast, folded, production was stopped, things have been going strong for the Dreamcast. It's a bit crazy, really. Yes, it's not quite the same level as, modern consoles or, if a console was still being officially developed and produced by a company, but stuff has been happening. And in recent years, the Dreamcast has come back online again. There's lots of games you can play online still. So you've got like the big ones like Quake 3, Phantasy Star Online, Toy Racer, if you're into that. There's actually quite a lot of the original Dreamcast online games actually back online, thanks to the Dream Pie, which is amazing. We actually did an interview with the Dream Pie creators back in the magazine a few issues ago. And if you go to dreamcasttalk.net, you can find out so much more about the online stuff for the Dreamcast at the moment. They are always doing sort of hosted events and stuff for the different online games. You can actually order a Dream Pie through there. So, the Dream Pie is a Raspberry Pi, effectively, which has been modded and put I guess software and firmware into it, which actually talks to the Dreamcast to get it back online through your broadband modem. So through you can do it through wireless, you can do it through wired connection. You can get online just using your current router. You don't have to use dial-up anymore, which is great. You still only get the dial-up speeds technically, because that's what the Dreamcast is capable of doing. That's what it plugs into its modem, built-in modem still. So still what's capable of doing, but that's what you do. And aside from the Dreamcast being online, there's been loads of indie games and Kickstarters that have come out. Especially in recent times, there's been a few Kickstarter games. But since the Dreamcast was cancelled in 2001, approximately 70 homebrew or indie titles have been launched and sold on the system. So those are games that you can, sort of indie developers have been creating and been selling online. So you can get from various online retailers and stuff. Scotty's showing off a few of them there.
These are awesome. All indie games.
Yep.
These are all indie games. Look at that stack.
I should have got my stack out as well, actually, but I've got a stack of them back there as well. There's been countless actual indie titles and mods for games that have been released for free over the years. You can get like games like PC ports like Quake and stuff was released for free that people worked on, which is awesome. There's about another 11 homebrew releases on their way that we know of. Chris is going to talk, I think, a little bit about some of them as well. And also just for continuing Dreamcast coverage, check out our friends at the Dreamcast Junkyard. They've always got excellent coverage of all things Dreamcast. They are brilliant. They're always hot on the pulse of Dreamcast news and stuff. I learned quite a lot of stuff from them. So keep up the excellent work, guys. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Radio Sega for pumping out the Sega tunes all the time, keeping the music alive. They do Sega from all generations, but if you like to hear those Jet Set Radio, Jet Grind Radio tunes and stuff from the Dreamcast era, they're always doing those as well. So it's awesome. I think the state of the Dreamcast right now is fantastic, but I will stop talking and pass over to you guys. Let's hear your thoughts on what's happening with the state of Dreamcast now.
I'll just say really quickly, I can go down some of the list of games that are actually going to be coming out this year, 2020, for indie games. And I'll see if you guys have any thoughts on those. Actually, there's a couple of games on here, or there's one game on here that actually did come out this year. So this is kind of like the major Dreamcast releases of 2020. The first one would be Xenocrysis, which came out. When did this actually come out, Scotty? Because I think, did it get a release late last year? It may have released like late in the year on like Steam and
I can let you
Genesis,
know.
I think that was like.
I'm looking up my review essentially because I released it. I did that release week.
And then the Dreamcast version just came out like recently.
Right.
It just released. So I know the game had been done probably sometime in late 2019, but didn't actually get.
My review for it was December 12th of 2019, so it came out late 2019.
Okay. Wow, I'm actually right for once. So that was actually a pretty good game. Like I was genuinely impressed
solid
with that. I think it looks great. The Dreamcast version is really, really nice. I will say that's one of those games, man. I really wish they had another analog stick on that controller.
Yeah, it's I'll mention it here, but it's on the schedule for the marathon. We will be playing that.
Sweet.
Excellent.
Awesome. Definitely tune in for that, Dreamcast fans. So some of the other games that are coming out is Slave. Have you guys seen that? It's kind of like a 3D puzzle style game. That looks really good.
Very briefly, but I do remember the name.
Yeah.
Is it a first-person game? Am I correct in thinking that? It's a first-person sort of puzzle shooter style game. Is that right?
I don't know if it's a shooter.
I think it is first-person, though.
Yeah. Okay. In my head, it was... Yeah, first-person then. Yeah. Cool. Awesome.
Then we also have Xenocrysis, which is like an on-rails shooter, kind of like a...
I'm sorry.
What?
I just pictured a bunch of xenomorphs sipping cider at a table or something.
What? Why?
Xenocider.
The aliens, and then drinking Graham's cider, maybe, or something. Just talking about, man, what a day at work, huh? My dogs.
I thought I mispronounced something when you guys started laughing.
No. This is my fan fiction.
This one looks really good, actually. Like Graham was saying, Dreamcast Junkyard has done a lot of good coverage on this game. I'm looking forward to this. Probably, I mean, outside of Xenocrysis, Xenocider might be one of the games that I'm looking forward to most out of this list. To round it out, we also have Intrepid Izzy, which we featured a preview of Intrepid Izzy in our 0 issue. Megavisions. I think we only printed like 30 of those. They're out there somewhere. Those copies get out.
I love the way Chris looked around. They're out there.
Listeners, Chris just looked at his ceiling.
I was looking to see if I actually have any on my shelf. I was looking around to see, like, do I have any here? I have copies of issue 8, but
that's what I've gotten.
I think Intrepid Izzy has been released on Steam and stuff, but the Dreamcast version is still on its way. But yeah, they did release a demo version, which, as you say, we actually got to play and we reviewed and stuff. I actually got to play it, and I thought it was a great game. Like, this is the game I'm looking forward to the most. I'm really excited for this game.
From what I understand with that in terms of production, they're releasing patches and listening to feedback before they release the final version on Dreamcast. So that's why
I guess that makes sense.
And that's a Senile team who's behind Intrepid Izzy. You can actually get it on Steam for $19 right now.
Cool. Awesome.
There you go.
Perfect.
So, Graham, are you going to get it?
Well, I've already got the Dreamcast version ordered because I actually did the Kickstarter for it.
Right,
but I may as well put some money down for Steam and get the Steam version as well. Why not? Let's do it.
It can't be a podcast without buying something, Graham. So
that's true.
That's what I was
okay, I've actually got Steam closed, so I don't slow the internet down. But I will do that after.
Yeah, maybe don't open that right now.
Graham is actually using the Dream Eye to do this recording, and he's using his Dreamcast stream, so he cannot open any other programs or applications, or else the whole
each of the controllers he mentioned have a microphone plugged into them, so he looks like he's in the middle of Death Stranding's mocap thing.
And the last big release for the year is Arcade Racing Legends. Have you guys seen this?
I've also backed that on Kickstarter as well. Yeah.
So what's going on with this game, Graham? Tell us about it.
Oh, I haven't really been checking the actual updates for it, but it seems like it's been in production for a couple of years now. But it's a 3D racing game, and one of the cool things about it is they've actually got inspiration from other Sega games and stuff. There's a few cars that are very similar to ones from Sega games, but they're also got, through the Kickstarter and stuff, they've actually got other companies to sponsor certain cars and stuff. Actually, we were looking at doing a Megavisions one, but I couldn't actually afford it at the time, which is really annoying.
Yeah, because it was like $1,000 or something.
It's pretty expensive. It's pretty expensive to actually sponsor. You can get sponsored tracks as well. You can sponsor cars. But it looks really good. So it's a full 3D racing game. It looks a lot of fun, like an arcade-style racing game. It's the visuals on it look pretty damn decent, especially for an indie Dreamcast game. So this is probably the second game I'm looking most forward to.
I'd say it looks like a step up above Sega Rally Championship, honestly.
Yeah, it's kind of
visuals, I mean.
Yeah, so it's basically that's probably the best way to actually look at it. Yeah.
But it's cool.
Oh yeah.
What about you, Scotty?
Holy crap. I got notes and they're bullet points, but there's a lot behind them each. First, I'll touch on the Dreamcast Live and Dreamcast Talk community. Or wait, did you talk yet, Graham? I don't want to step over your...
I did mention stuff about that, but with the anticipation that you were going to sort of talk about it. So I briefly mentioned what's happening, but yeah, go for it.
Okay, awesome. I'll pull the curtain back over everything, and now I'll talk about my opinions. So no, Dreamcast Live and Dreamcast Talk is an amazing community. That's the online community that's still playing stuff today that supplied Graham and me and Chris. All of us have Dream Pies. I forget that all of us do have Dream Pies.
Yeah.
Which
show one to the camera.
Yeah, which unfortunately... So I'll nip this in the bud. We had planned on having a couple hours dedicated to playing online during the marathon, but that was going to be between Chris, Graham, myself, and TJ. Long story short, not all of everybody's able to do that, so it's not going to happen during the marathon, but I like to think that somewhere down the line we are going to have more online stuff happening. And that aside, though, great community, very friendly, very tech savvy, because it is very much a small community creating these machines that let your Dreamcast use a current internet connection to play things online still. They do have regular meetups still. Quake is on Fridays typically. They do Alien Front Online, Phantasy Star Online. Sports titles that are getting reinvigorated with their online modes are playable now and stuff. So that's really cool. So that's awesome that community exists. Indie games, we could have a whole podcast on Dreamcast indie games, because I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games right here. With these crazy stuff. You see a lot of like...
I found 6 on my shelf. Stuff. Yeah. Awesome stuff.
When the indie scene first took off, it was mostly shmups, but they've expanded outward on that with a lot of like JRPGs and platformers and stuff. One game that I want to give a shout out to that more people need to play is Alice Dreams Tournament. We had that a couple years on the marathon, but this thing does crazy stuff with the VMU, and they actually, part of their Kickstarter was essentially backing their lamp that goes over the VMU so that you can use your VMU at night or without the lights off or whatever. And there are modes that use the VMU, and you have to actually look at it's a Bomberman style party game. You have to look at the VMU to see yourself when players looking at the TV cannot see you, like different dark modes and like light and dark stuff. It's really cool.
There's a game on the Wii U like that. It's like a Luigi style game, like a Mario game, where players looking at the main screen couldn't see the person who had the Wii U controller thing. I played that at Expo once. Awesome.
It reminds me of like Four Swords on the GameCube or Pac-Man Versus or stuff like that. But along with the indie stuff, of course, want to mention Gunlord is a really good like Turrican thing. And one that someday will release, Elysian Shadows, has a lot of hype behind it. Hopefully that game still comes out. And overall, just like the indie scene, Josh Prod is is it one? It's not just one dude. It's a company. It's some devs that are making stuff. The indie scene is so strong and it's so great that every year at MagFest or at Too Many Games, I will pick up at least one Dreamcast indie game, hoping to showcase it on the marathon. If not, it's just good to have a new buying. We're still buying new Dreamcast games. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that those exist, and all the ones that Chris mentioned as well there.
Yeah, there's in fact, Dreamcast Junkyard sort of spoke about Josh Prod actually putting out a load more games coming soon. We've got Alice Sisters, Rocketron, I'm not going to be able to say this right, Satas Zeus or something next. Tough Guy, Supercharged Robot, Wolf Flame. Those are a few games that are coming out from Josh Prod. Yeah, which is awesome. Really excited to see those games coming out, really.
Yeah, there's one that I'll mention again, or also is Alice's Mom's Rescue.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty sloppy title, but I popped this in during one marathon, and I was like, I don't know if anyone's going to like this. It's a weird, clunky platformer, but it is made with speedrunning in mind, and people were loving that thing, and I thought no one would care about it. There is a sequel coming out called Alice Sisters, so it's the more insane, the better. It's just cool to see this niche stuff that happens that, AAA studios are not going to do because they're too afraid to not make money.
Yeah. And one other very quick thing, one of the guys behind the Dream Pie, Luke Benstead, he's working on a new 3D game engine for the Dreamcast, which other developers and stuff can be able to use. And it's showing some early screenshots, and it's pretty cool what he's being able to do with it. So hopefully we'll see even more 3D games coming out. So that's pretty exciting.